First of all, I want to make clear that I'm not trying to bash any of the companies I'm going to talk about. I've owned, played and enjoyed guitars by all of them through the years. But I seem to have a different experience than what I've been reading online, and of course, your mileage may vary. So what is it exactly I want to talk about in this video? It's about the quality control of arguably the two biggest guitar brands in the world and their sister companies. I heard a lot of complaints about the quality control of Gibson and Epiphone, and not nearly the same amount of complaints about Fender or Squier. I have been playing Fender guitars for the majority of my guitar playing time, which started in 2005. In 2018 I bought my first Gibson, which was a faded SG tribute, and from that point on Gibsons became my main guitars. In the meantime, my wife became a Fender player after playing PRS for many years. Those choices have had nothing to do with quality control so far, it was simply where our musical journey had taken us, because those guitars simply sounded and played better for the music we were making at that time and we are now still making. And that's simply how it goes as you evolve as a musician. I'm the kind of person that reads into gear, so when I was bitten by the Gibson bug, I was constantly confronted with a lot of negativity about Gibson's quality control. In the meantime, I haven't read half as much complaints about Fender's quality control. And that surprises me. Though I think I have enough basic knowledge to know how everything on a guitar works or should work, I do not work on my own guitars. I've been working with the same luthier ever since I started playing guitar. So everything I'm talking about is based on my own experience as well as his knowledge and expertise. Lately I've been putting out a lot of guitar reviews and I've played my fair share of guitars by any of these brands in the past. But in my experience I had way more issues with Fender and Squier guitars out of the box than I had with Gibsons or Epiphones. And that was reconfirmed while I was doing those latest guitar reviews, so I wanted to talk about that. For me, there are a couple of reoccurring issues with Fender and Squier guitars. The fretwork almost always needs work because the fret ends are way too sharp to be even playable. And the same goes for the nut, which is cut pretty bad most of the time. There are also issues with hardware which is not properly placed or is coming loose or feels a bit flimsy, and sometimes there are even issues with the neck, truss rod or the fretboard. To put it frankly, there hasn't been a Fender or Squier guitar that I have tried the past few years that wasn't in need of work, and with that I don't mean a simple setup, I'm talking about fixing issues that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And that goes from Squiers all the way to American Fenders. I have put up with these issues with my Telecaster because it sounded and played great despite those issues. But it did cost me extra to get those issues fixed. Same goes for my wife, who owns a couple of Fender and Squier guitars. All of them sounded and played great, but they did need some serious extra work to be like they should. Meanwhile, I didn't have this experience with the Gibson or Epiphone guitars I tried the past few years. My most recent Epiphone, which is my Les Paul Custom, had a few issues to the fretwork which had to be filed out, and this is something that I've heard about online. But my previous Epiphone Les Paul, as well as the Epiphone Les Paul, which I recently borrowed from my bandmate, didn't have any of these issues. With my Gibson Les Paul Jr. I had some sharp fret ends, but as far as I'm concerned, this had nothing to do with Gibson quality control. This was a discontinued model that had been sitting in the store's warehouse for a long time and the fretboard had dried out way too much. The store gave me some extra credit, I already bought the guitar at a sale, my luthier was able to fix it and the store acknowledged it was their fault, so I didn't mind too much. Besides that, all my Gibson and Epiphone guitars which I owned were all good after a proper setup without any noticeable issues or flaws. Maybe that means I've been lucky with Gibson and I've been unlucky with Fender. But I'm talking about a comparison of more than a dozen guitars of each brand, and in my opinion that rules out the chance of blaming it on luck. And honestly, I'm partial to either brand. I'm not even playing any other brands anymore the past few years, so it's clear I love both. But I do think it's surprising that I don't see nearly as much complaints about Fender's quality control compared to Gibson. I really think Fender should step up their quality control, because a lot of issues I've talked about seem very unnecessary. And it seems like Gibson and their new management took all the negative feedback about the quality control to heart. At least that's only my experience so far. Hello there, I have to cut in for a minute. I'm Steven from the future, and just like in last week's video, I have to cut into this week's video for the same reason. I shoot my videos a few weeks in advance, but after I made this video, a few things came up. In last week's video, I talked about a Gibson SG Junior. I tried one last year, but the one I got sent home had some neck issues and had to be sent back. But the guitar kept in my mind, and I was looking for one for half a year until I found one recently, which I brought home as well. And that guitar also had some neck issues. I just brought it back to the store and I talked to the guitar store owner, asking him about Gibson quality control. And he told me that about half of the Gibson guitars he get had some kind of issue. And he doesn't have the same experience with Fender guitars as I do, so it might just be me. But yeah, you tell me. Please let me know your experiences in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and I'll see you next time.